Yeah. So we uh, started with speaking a little bit into the activities of ourselves or the self, uh, which you said is a conscious or the conscious aspect in us. This is like trying to take a ultrasound machine or an X-ray scanner and look at the body and see that you have lungs here and you have kidneys here. And often, obviously, it's easier to see that in the body and harder to see it in ourselves because one is it's not visible to the naked eye. You can't sense the activities in myself using the senses. I can't study it using an external instrument because uh, if there is something in me, then I have to look at it. I can't use an instrument to look at it because the instrument itself is outside of me. So when I'm trying to understand myself, the only way I can possibly do that is by using a faculty in myself. Okay. So this is just to very briefly, we saw that. So we said we have desires, we have thoughts, and we have expectations. Desires are in the form of images that I want to acquire. So I have a whole set of images that come to me since childhood, and we'll explore a little more of the activity of imaging. And what we call as thinking is essentially the analysis of an image, sometimes to clarify that image. For instance, during this session, during this workshop, um, let's say, a proposal comes up, I say something, there's something written on the board, and one of us will ask, what does this mean? What we're really trying to do is, we're trying to take that image and try to clarify it. We're trying to clarify where it came from. Sometimes we're trying to clarify what it means. Sometimes we're trying to clarify how I can get it. So all analysis we do in essentially is to be able to clarify a particular image that we have, which means that we have desire to clarify that image, right? So this activity is called analyzing. Like it's called Vishleshan in Hindi. Vishleshan means to be able to open up that which is stuck together, and we do this very often, even when for any subject. If you want to understand a subject in science, you want to understand history of Dharwad. So then you're going to ask what happened in Dharwad. So that's an image. So somebody will say, this is what happened. You say, no, but why did this guy do it this way? This is an entirely mental activity. Okay. So we see that oftentimes we spend a lot of time just engaging ourselves mentally. Like when people play Sudoku or they're playing a crossword puzzle, what are they doing? They're not getting anything tasty to eat. They're not earning money or spending money. They're not even interacting with a person, right? They're trying to see how to keep themselves busy. And what is the problem statement in their mind is what is the answer to this particular puzzle. So that's the image that they're trying to clarify. So the actual act of writing the letters, the correct answer in the crossword puzzle is the result of the understanding where I have solved. So I'm able to go back to memory and figure out what is the word that's going to fulfill this and this condition. You see, आदमी मजा कैसे लेता? This is intellectual maja. Very small example of intellectual happiness wherein I have an image and the answer is written on the backside. I can just turn around and look at the answer, but we want to be able to go through that motion of guessing and then get the fulfillment ki maine isko kiya. Okay, so that kind of will give us an idea of how imaging and analysis works. So again, we'll cover some basic things here. Let me see how we can do it. We have quite a few things. Like I told you when I start, I think I shared it with him. When I was writing that book, I think, not I think now, I'm pretty certain that I kind of got carried away with some of
Hello.
yeah, hello, yeah. Just take the mic up again. आप hello के लिए बोले हाँ.
Before that, uh, please kindly give some more light on this choosing, analyzing, and imaging
Yeah.
with thought, expectation, and desire.
Yeah, with thought, expectation, and desire. So, what we identify as desire, thought, and expectation actually means the activity is imaging. What that means is that every desire is in the form of an image. The impulse to acquire that image is what we call as a desire. So, the desire, thought, and expecting is the name of the activity of imaging analyzing and choosing. Every choice that you make is with the expectation that you'll get something. Every choice, either internal or external. Yes, so you go to a shop and you see a lot of clothes and you say, I want to take that one. So there is an expectation that this will suit me. Actually, what is happening is you're choosing. In that choosing, that expectation is. So the choice itself is expectation. So you say you are expecting that. आपको hope है कि ये मिलेगा, है ना? ये मिलने से कुछ आएगा. Similarly, what we say when we say I'm thinking, what is really happening is analysis. Analysis is what we call as thought. Like we give a child a problem and he says मुझे नहीं पता चल रहा है. आप बोलेंगे सोचो. What you're basically saying is why don't you analyze it? Okay, so we recognize analysis as thought, or we call analysis as thought. This is the name for this activity. Similarly, we recognize images as desires. When we say I desire this, it is actually an image. Like the desire to go to Ladakh. What is it? It's an image of Ladakh that I want to acquire. And what is it? I don't want to acquire Ladakh. I want to go to Ladakh and experience it. So what kind of desire is it? It's a desire to do with preference-based tasting. We'll come to that. We saw it a little briefly. Sensory tasting, off-type travel in Ladakh. इसका experience मुझे चाहिए. So this is the root image that I have here. We will go through, yeah. So once you have image, you will end up doing analyzing, you will end up doing choosing and expecting. There will be some images that are just sitting there and they don't form desire. So that is there as data. So some images are there just as information. So when you say, I know history, you basically know all this information that you read about history. It doesn't mean you want to become a history teacher. So this chitran, this imaging is also where all memory is stored. Okay. So we have images, so this is all where memory is stored. So when we say memory idhar hai. Okay, so imaging or visualizing. Actually, visualizing is a better word than imaging because imaging se aisa lagta hai ki it's only form. Alright, so but this is really where memory is stored. And this is the impulse for its fulfillment. Memory का अर्थ है the recallability of different experiences that you've gone through. नहीं अभी just let's stick to this slide. Previous slide will do a little later. Right now to understand it, just this slide. Previous slide generate करेगा. Like for instance, you had a sensory experience. Those ones that we deem to be important are the ones you'll remember. You'll remember that particular hotel जिसमें वो बिरयानी खाया था आज का सबसे अच्छा बिरयानी था. That's one kind of sensory experience that you'll remember. Okay, and then also what happens is as time passes by, those memories which are not very important will kind of go to the background. So you will have some memories in the background. Okay, some in the deep recesses of the mind. So this is the mind. When I'm using the word mind, okay, where the memory happens, this place is called the chitta. The chitta can also be called the psyche. This is the place where the memories arise, where the memories are stored, where the chitran or the imaging is happening. For example, the place from where you breathe or where the oxygen is taken into the body is called the lungs. Okay, the place where the urine is purified, or basically toxins are purified, is called the kidney. So the place from where I image is called the chitta or the psyche or the mind. Yeah.
So if I'm getting it right, if I'm able to understand this cycle correctly, and if I know that whatever I think analyze and visualize is basically around images. So, and if I know, let's say, for example, if somebody has done some wrong, or if I'm disturbed by somebody, it is basically an image of that experience. So I can conveniently ignore, because
Yeah,
that, so then I'm able to resolve it or handle it better, because
yeah,
it was an image. Now
yeah,
let me move forward.
yeah.
Is that line of
That's what,
thought
yeah,
is fine?
exactly. So what happens is when we're having bad experiences, we're actually interacting with the body. It's live. And at that time, you have to decide what to do. Somebody's shouting at you, and at that instant, you have to kind of decide what to do. Should I shout back? Not. But the memory of that entire scene, of that person and their shouting and the fact that you felt bad is now stored here. That guy is gone. That instance is gone. इन्होंने हमको 30 साल पहले मारा. वो तो हो गया ना 30 साल पहले. वो तो आके निकल गया. वो चोट तो चली गई. But the memory, like in Rajasthan, they say कि 7 जन्म तक नहीं छोड़ेंगे. For 7 lifetimes. The fight between families, वो जो मारा वो कौन है वो मर भी गया. He is being roasted, whatever, made into ash and जला दिया ना. जैसे अभी बॉयलर में जला रहे हैं तो राख हो गया है. So what is persisting is the memory of that insult over 7 generations, and they'll keep beating. This was a reality in this country, in Rajasthan and Uttar Pradesh. They would follow it for 7 generations. Family feuds take 7 generations. The people who started the India-Pakistan war are dead. They are dead. So who's fighting? We are fighting with that idea that they did this to us. And that is propelling us. That's what is keeping us alive. Whereas those people are gone. We don't even know them. In fact, they don't even know us because we were not born then. So who are we fighting for? It's an idea. It's an idea that I'm India. And if you do something wrong in India, India will jail you. Right? So ideas. So this is where ideas, and in fact, it's interesting. I mean, it's not within the scope of our primary workshop, but when we go into deeper study, this chitran, this forming image, is actually broken down into 8 components. Every image that you have is 8 further components. It's called Roop, Gun, Ganna, Kal, Vistar, Shram, Gati, Parinam. Okay, there is form, there is quality, there is counting, there is time. This is where we experience time. This is one place to experience time. Outside, for instance, you're looking at a clock. Tick, 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 tick. You count 5 seconds. Okay? You stop looking at the clock. You are busy in some activity that you like. You lose sense of time. Time is still counting outside. The earth is still roaming. Inside, I have lost sense of time. This is what happens in dreams. We experience the world here. This is off. So hence it teaches is timelessness. You find this workshop boring, it's going to look, the time is going to seem very large. You are in a job you don't like, every day is going to seem like a lifetime. You are in a job you like, every day is going to go off very quickly. You are in a condition in which you are not able to take a decision, time is going to look stretched. So this is where time resides. Okay? This is where effort, the feeling of effort, how much time is it going to take? I mean, how much basically effort? It's called shram. Will it take me to do this? Like as we are discussing this, you must be reflecting on Bapre, this is so difficult. This Bapre, this is so difficult is getting felt here. You're like, मैं तो ठीक ही था कहाँ से आ गया 5 क्रिया 3 क्रिया because this chitran is not able to image it. Sometimes we blank out because that's an area that we've not explored. We've not done the chitran. What we feel we know is actually nothing but an image here. When you don't have the image, you don't know. When you have the image, you know. Some images just have information, blank information. उसी को बोलते हैं रट्टा, memorization. Some have meaning in them. That's called understanding. Okay. For now, this is enough for chitran. Otherwise, it gets interesting, but we won't be able to cover the other topics. यादें ही है। याद उर्दू शब्द है दीदी, स्मरण संस्कृत शब्द है, मेमोरी इंग्लिश शब्द है, चीज एक ही है। डीप इम्प्रेशन है, कभी कभी उतना डीप भी नहीं होता, छोटा भी होता है। फॉर सम रीजन यू जस्ट रिमेम्बर इट। इन स्कूल आई रिमेम्बर, मेरा एक दोस्त था, उसका नाम कपिल शाह था। ही यूज्ड टू वेयर अ शू, उस पे लखानी लिखा है। आई रिमेम्बर दिस। अब क्या करूं, आई डोंट नो वेयर कपिल शाह इज। लखानी कंपनी बंद हो गई, मेरे को उसका जूता याद है। अब क्या करूं, इट इज ऑफ नो यूज टू माई लाइफ। कभी कभी फालतू के मेमोरी ऐसे पड़े, अब याद है, क्या करें। हमारा स्कूल में सेकंड फ्लोर से थर्ड फ्लोर का कंस्ट्रक्शन हुआ, उसमें क्रेन था, उसमें बीजी शिरकेन कंपनी लिखा था। अभी तक मुझे याद है, आई वॉज इन क्लास 6। येलो कलर क्रेन, बीजी शिरकेन कंपनी। क्या करोगे, मेरे को स्टैटिस्टिक्स याद नहीं है, शॉर्ट की डायोड भूल गया, रेडार डिजाइन भूल गया, ट्रांसफॉर्मर डिजाइन भूल गया, शिरके का क्रेन दिख रहा है सामने। ओके, not just amaze, sometimes it's just what basically what you ended up paying attention to, sometimes without reason, sometimes with reason. If you ask the people here, we've been sitting here every day. If you ask what species of trees are outside, you won't be able to remember unless you had an interest in trees. So we remember what we are interested in, what we end up noticing, and the amount of time for which you will keep it will stay in you, because you cannot keep it, will depend on its utility going forward and whether you think you want to do something with it in future. The crane was because there was a boy called Shirke whose father had sponsored the entire construction on top. They were a construction company. The Lakhani shoe I remember because we had two kinds of people in school, those who were children of government servants and those who were children of businessmen. The children of businessmen wore Adidas and Reebok because it was imported back then, very expensive. And the rest of us wore Lakhani. Sweet, it is to do with status. नहीं तो जूता काहे को याद रहता है. And those who couldn't afford Lakhani would wear canvas shoes, white putty with a brown cloth on top. आजकल बंद हो गया. Very uncomfortable shoes, flat footed. You can't run with that. Okay, so there is a bhav. The memories, the images that we have are not just blank data. That's one kind of memory that we have. This is a blank information. इसने इसको कुछ किया. This is so memory itself is a very interesting subject. You won't be able to cover all of it. Like 5, 6 kinds of memories. दीदी ट्रॉमेटिक मेमोरी इस शरीर आकर में डिलीट कर सकते हैं क्या? डिलीट नहीं होता है. It will stop being traumatic if you are able to assess it and figure out why it happened, how I could have been better, the reason behind why it happened and why it could not have happened, and if I'm able to put it in the larger picture, then the memory will still be there, but it will stop bothering me. It will stop being traumatic, but you won't delete it. It's possible that it can go into the deep recesses, that's why they say time heals. Actually, time doesn't heal. Contrary experiences heal. In the meanwhile, we end up meeting a different set of people, we end up going through different life, and a whole new set of memories come. So in that heap, that is the dung heap, in the dung heap, it goes into the bottom of the heap. But if that particular person or instance or that circumstance comes up, it's going to come up again if we haven't sorted it out within. It is possible to sort out, and that is called, it is possible to sort it out, and that is called tulan. So that is called weighing or tulan. When you evaluate it, or even evaluation, when we evaluate the memories, so the only way to sort it out is if you have a larger image than the smaller one. इसने मुझे मारा, ये कौन था, ये कॉन्शियस था, इसके अंदर ये था, ये एग्जिस्टेंस है इसमें. If this whole thing comes, then this thing looks very small. So you evaluate करके बोलता है रहने दो यार. and one subsumes into the other. No, no, no. That is Santavana Vena. That you are consoling yourself. This is not solution. This you are consoling. Basically, in this case, what you are basically saying is, I got a cut and it is bleeding, and I see somebody who lost his whole foot and say, "Uska to pair hi gaya, I am left." This is consolation. This is like, five soldiers got killed in India, and वहाँ तो 20,000 मर गए, we lost only five. This is consolation. Here, we are looking at the samadhan. We're looking at the answer of what exists. See, any problem is a reflection of the absence of a solution. There is a corresponding solution that either I don't know or the other guy doesn't know or didn't know, and hence I have a problem. It's manifesting as a problem. So here what you're doing is you're looking at this larger solution and then root causing why this problem occurred. Sometimes it takes time because if the trauma or the person or the incident is very close to us or has had a very deep impact, it can take a lot of time and guts to be able to uncover it. But if you keep persisting, it will happen. And it does happen. So here you're basically looking at, for instance, we poisoned the air. The air in Bombay is gone, the air in Delhi is gone, the air in Bangalore is going. What are you going to do about it? You can't do anything. Well, you go pump out the air, pump back the air, stop eating, you will hang yourself. Nothing will happen. You will be one less person breathing. That's it. The air will still be polluted. It's a neutral problem, not created by one man, but being suffered by everybody. Barabar? It's not the one person polluted the air. All of us polluted the air. If you use the vehicle, a car, anything, you are contributing to it. Okay? If anything, everything. वही मैं बोला ना, if you have to be nature friendly, you have to become nanga. व्हाइट भी ब्लीच होता है दीदी, व्हाइट कुछ कलर ही नहीं होता, आप कपड़ा एक्चुअली व्हाइट होता ही नहीं.
White means it is the combination of
No,
seven
don't
colors.
become nanga. Wear the clothes. Let's leave the nanga aside. है ना, नहीं तो एक स्ट्रेस हो जाएगा. And wear the clothes. That was just besides the point. I say these things to give a little break in the so we can थोड़ा सांस लेने के लिए. नहीं तो थियरी ज्यादा हो जाता है.
भैया एक डाउट,
ये जो मैं टेंजेंशियल चीजें बोलता हूँ, our teacher would do that. We would be discussing and suddenly he will break into a story. And then one day he told me, घूमना है तो घूम के आओ, है ना. I said नहीं मैं तो सुनने के लिए आया, पूना से टिकट विकेट छोड़ के ना, I've come here for a week. He said no ज्यादा हो जाएगा, इसीलिए मैं बेसिकली ये है कि तुम्हारा you're full up now, nothing more going, just go out, take a break, look at the river Narmada and come back after a few days. Let's leave the clothes aside. So now what is the solution to the problem? There's nothing. What do I do? Do I feel bad? Do I run away from? There are two options. I can run away so I don't have to keep seeing it. Okay, but the memory will still be there. I can feel bad, then I can take some action. So I'll work on environmental policy. Okay, so that will make me feel a little good. But then after 10 years of working in policy, I see that the air is just getting even worse. So that there's still a chance that I can still feel bad. So what is the solution? Is it that I run away, that I don't work on the policy, that I don't change my lifestyle? No, I may have to do all of this. But I have to do something beyond it. And for that something beyond, I have to understand human beings and why they are the way they are and what did they do with the environment and how this happened and how long it took and what is going to be the long-term solution to it. Huh? Yeah. So what will happen is you will have internal peace when you understand the larger picture. Okay? When you understand like the larger picture of the way the world is and actually how human beings are, then you will understand, you have to understand that human beings are actually developing, learning to live. And this is like a midpoint in that journey. And aage jaake they are going to become better. So then you have samadhan here in the visual. अंदर से आपको अच्छा लग रहा है. You don't have this inner conflict. Outside the air will still be shitty. That's not going to change. Then you can take some positive action on what I can do. Then you will also be able to scope your own impact. I am one individual. Okay. I have a family, I have to earn money, I have to study, I have to teach. What can I do for the air? Sometimes the answer is you can't do anything. And if it gets unbearable, leave and go off to a village. But you are resolved within. So this is where you get samadhan. Here. When we set resolution, remember? First day, first show. You get resolution here, we'll get resolution here. Sometimes you will be able to execute the resolution, sometimes you cannot. So for that, you will have to know what is your impact area. If your impact is within your own body, you can do it. If your impact is in relationship, you can do it. If you want to impact the entire planet, one person can't do it. So then you say, okay, I'll contribute it in some way. So for instance, when I say that I'm sharing something for the benefit of humankind and for the benefit of nature, what am I doing? I'm actually wasting ink on a board and using up a projector. This projector was purchased. I mean, they would have anyways purchased it, but it was purchased too. So there's a lot of pollution that went into that Epson printer and so on. So if I say by this pollution will stop, you say what nonsense? You're using electricity. All of you came here by air, by train. There's so much of diesel that was burned just getting in here. But I know, and we'll know it tomorrow or day after, that in the long term scheme of things, like over the period of 500 to 800 to 1000 years, the only way out is for humans to be able to understand the coexistence. This is the real long term permanent solution. So I am doing this to keep the flame alive. It's a very small flame and a very small, bhakti also. Just 8 days. But I'm doing it to keep it alive. If this keeps alighted and this goes into education and people's mindset change and the industrialist mindset changes and the finance minister also hears it and the prime minister also hears it and all of us hear it and all of us change, then the air can change. Till then, what will you do? You keep doing that, keep putting fog guns, do odd even scheme, short term solutions karo. So in the PDF that we have sent, there were two questions there on the 5th, 7th slide. What are the immediate solutions to my problems? What are the immediate solutions to the world's problems? What are the long-term solutions or the permanent solutions to the world's problem? The permanent solution to the world's problem, if you remember the figure 8 that we had drawn, human being in the center with the 3 avasthas, remember? This guy has to change. What in him has to change? All this has to change. Otherwise, it will keep continuing. If I am the body and happiness is through material things, I'll keep buying cars. And if I cannot see my relationship with nature, then I'm not going to care for nature. Okay? Yeah. People don't have clarity. Correct. But if you can also see why people around you don't have clarity, development wise, and then which we will try and see over the next 2-3 days. We'll get to that part that you're talking of. But if you are able to see why people don't have that, it's like a small child. You give a child a vessel to cook in, or it takes a vessel to cook in and it breaks the jar. Your instinctive reaction sometimes is to get angry, but many times we don't because we know the child doesn't know and it's anyways going to get there and learn and it's going to be fine. So then you wait. With a child, you will be waiting for 5 or 8 or 10 years. With humanity, you have to wait for 100, 200, sometimes 500, sometimes 800 years. So with the child, we know that it's going to get there. We don't get frustrated कि ये बेवकूफ कल पैदा हुआ चल ही नहीं पा रहा है. The stupid child doesn't know how to walk. We don't do that because you know that it has to go through that growing pain and one day it's going to run like a champion. If we are able to get that view for all of humanity, then this problem will not happen. We are realizing slowly, we realize something. We at least realize how to not get killed by the tigers. We stop eating each other. Now we are stopping eating the goats also. Dhire dhire we are getting there. A question hai, will the planet survive? That let Trump and Kim Jong and Modi worry about. है ना? That is not in our hand. That is like saying, क्या तुम प्रधानमंत्री बन सकते हो? कि नहीं बन सकते. What will you do worrying about the planet? The planet is not asking you.
Bhaiya, this is about traumatic memory that we discussed just now.
Many people are there who are carrying so much of pathetic or very painful memories and keep on suffering very badly every moment. And they approach certain kind of people who claim to be the experts in the field of past life regression PLR, and they claim that they can pass out, they can erase those past memories which are bad, which are very sensitive or very penetrating to the people. And in the parlance of these activities in the self, how does it fit here? How can we validate that particular claim? Past life regression. Do they
Yes,
actually?
those are techniques. So this particular thing they're talking of is a non-mystical way to understand one's life. If there are specific traumatic instances that are arising from instances or things that have happened in the past, then those are techniques. This is an understanding. I mean, I've read a book, and maybe some of you have also. It's called Many Lives, Many Masters by somebody called Brian Weiss, who was a board certified MD doctor in the US again. And um, he, as part of his whatever practice, comes across people, and he's able to solve their physical problems by getting them to see uh, traumatic experiences from a past life. And the book is full of such instances. You may or may not believe it is a different issue. But वही है मतलब but the only problem is you cannot teach those things. You can't transfer those things. If you tried all this and this is also not working, and you are really desperate and you want to go and you know spend 5 or 10 or 15,000 trying to go to your past life, you can do that. अभी तो cost 4,000 rupees just to get to Delhi. So past life जाने में तो will take longer. The distance is yeah. I am that. It's a book by Nisarga Datta Maharaj. Nisarga Datta Maharaj. But if you read it, it'll get you. You read it anyways, but don't confuse it with this. You like the word. You want to be that. You want to be something. Why should you be that? I am Botana. She's where she is. They sell a book called "Who Am I?" And he that you don't want. Who am I? You want I am that. मैं वो हूँ. That basically comes from the fundamental interpretation of Advaita Vedanta, because we don't know whether that is really written. There's a debate on that, saying that you are the ultimate reality. It's called Brahman. Yeah, Brahma. So basically it says you're not the body, you're not this, you're not that. Finally, this ultimate reality or the supreme consciousness. You know? And after that you feel hungry. Yeah, and you have to go and eat. So now you have to ask who is feeling hungry? Is Brahman feeling hungry? Is it the body feeling hungry? But if I am not the body, why is the hunger coming to me? Go to that. That is unresolved. That's the problem. मैं वो हूँ. No, or eat in a hotel, and when he gets the bill, बोला मैंने खाया वो खाया. उससे पैसा लो. 1200 साल चला है ये बिलीफ नहीं है. देखो अंडरस्टैंडिंग कुछ भी हो, people have tried very hard. These are not trivial matters. Very sympathetic. Sorry state of affairs. I mean, this whole figuring out what to do and all that, very tough. I mean, ले देखकर तो we are able to escape poverty, है ना? Like 2 generations ago तो खाने को नहीं था. अभी खाने को मिला तो चैन से रह नहीं सकते. There is no problem in life. There is no life. Yeah. Actually उल्टा है. For the philosopher, the issues, if there is no problem, उसका धंधा चले गया. He has lost his livelihood, either monetary or intellectual livelihood. If there's no Narmada Dam, what will the Narmada Bachao Andolan do? Who किसको बचाएंगे? किसी को तो बचाना पड़ेगा ना. ऐसा है. Okay, so we'll proceed. So that's basically to give us a glimpse of uh, the what happens in the self in these respects. And so this you can see really if you put it together, it starts by having a desire to become something. This is like one way it functions. And let's say there is some change we seek in us. You want an intellectual change. So I want to become an intelligent person, a learned person, a wise person. The change may be monetary. I want to be a rich person. I want to be a good person. I want to be a well-known person. Or I want to be a better person. It could be all of these. It could be some of these. And these reside as images in us. And why these images we feel that I want to become something, or that I am something, if you already have it. मैं बड़ा आदमी हूँ, ये जो feeling है, मैं अच्छा आदमी हूँ, I am a wise person, really arises here. And then we cause or influence some result, right? Via some plan and action. So that is actually the doing. So here is I am, or I'm becoming, or I am something. Then thought means I'm doing something. ये करना है, वो करना है. This is when I'll do it. That's when I'll do it. If I do this, this will happen. This is what will cause. Usually we are busy at this stage. We are typically not aware of this underlying, image we have here. We are usually busier here. And most of us are actually busier here. We are trying to acquire something, execute it. बाहर पूरे दिन काम पे. So this is how the desire, thoughts, and expectation really looks like. We've already covered this. So the slide is of course lagging behind the discussion. Our discussion has already covered this. But for instance, we have a desire to get respect from a house of a particular kind, right? So this respect from the house is in the form of an image. Hence we say that मेरा घर ऐसा होना चाहिए. Okay. And so I want respect. The house is a means to get that respect. The only way to get it is if my house does not look like all the other houses around me. So all the houses look the same. Okay, so now I'm going to go and try and change the house. So my desire to get respect is getting actioned via the house. Which is why if somebody puts cow dung on it, I get very pissed off because they feel they hit me there, but it is on the house. Correct? So we know we desire because we have these images. Correct? So again, the desire is in the form of an image. And Danda. लेके गई. That was a nice pick, yeah. Okay. So again, based on this desire, we start working out the details, when to build the house, how to build the house, etc. कब करूंगा, कैसे करूंगा, है ना? करना है, नहीं करना है. All this planning takes place, and that is really called analysis. Okay. So you go to an architect and you say, मेरे को अच्छा घर चाहिए. He then asks you, अच्छा का मतलब क्या? What do you want? Like the kind of house जिससे सब लोगों को jealousy लगे, है ना? So now he is going to give you that kind of plan. बोला अच्छा घर का मतलब बहुत airy चाहिए. So we describe the image, and then he says, okay, you can have a window here, you can have a window here. So that's how imaging and analysis works. So because we analyze, we know we think. So the capability of thought, right, is in the form of analyzing. So we have the capability of thinking, and what we are actually doing really is analysis. And again, we saw that in choosing, then you may want to go ahead and choose the colors of the walls based on what colors you like. Some people like pink, some people like red, some people like cream. It's also dependent on where you grew up and what is your ulterior. For example, this is tuna. I really like this because I think it has a very low environmental or carbon footprint. Not because I like the color, but because it's just simple. It's natural tuna. You mix it, and then it's tuna. It's not distemper. It's not oil-borne. OBD name, not oil-borne distemper or plastic paint and all that. So we have different preferences behind what we like. हमको जो अच्छा लगता है. There is like an underlying, drishti that keeps working. So this is how really expecting works. Again, if you're wondering why we're discussing this, we said we want to understand myself. And when we open up ourselves, this is what we find inside. There are these three things. Okay. So we've taken the second one. We've done the introduction to, a very basic introduction to desire, thinking, and expecting. Now we'll move on to the three kinds of tasting that we have. We'll just make this black because we've already covered it. It will also help. Take a break from listening to me. Okay. So the three kinds of tasting in the man. What does this mean? So the place from where we experience the outer world is called the man. Like I told you, I've yet not been able to identify an appropriate uh, English term for it. What does that mean? When I eat a rasgulla and I feel nice, where am I? I'm actually in the man. That the man is where I'm tasting the rasgulla. हाँ मन खुश हुआ, इसलिए हम बोलते खाने के बाद मन खुश हुआ. मैं खुश नहीं हुआ, मन खुश हुआ. मेरे अंदर वो सब अभी भी चल रहा है, पैसा खत्म हो गया, घर बनाना तो उसने ये बोल दिया, वो सब चल रहा है, लेकिन मन को अच्छा लगा, विच इज वाई इट्स अ टेम्पररी डिस्ट्रैक्शन. अभी भी द वर्ल्ड इज गोइंग टू हेल, एवरीबडी इज फाइटिंग, इंडिया पाकिस्तान सब चल रहा है, बट लेकिन इधर समथिंग हैपेंड. सो दिस इज वन लेवल ऑफ एक्सपीरियंस which is called the man. Okay, so the first place this really happens in the sensory domain is called interest-based tasting. It is called Ruchimula Kaswadan. We've already kind of touched upon this 2 to 3 times, if you remember, to do with the body and the satiation. अभी भी लिखा है उधर, you know, satiation, the health, pleasure from the senses, happiness from, you know, doing some activity, some kind of production, and also by using some instruments. For example, you have a nice phone or a nice car or even a nice grass cutter powered by Gomutra or something like that, right? So all that feels good, correct? And all that feeling good is to do with Ruchimula Kaspada. Environment friendly living, environment friendly practices, environment unfriendly practices. I go by aeroplane, I go in a helicopter. All those experiences are to do with Ruchimula Kaspada because it has got something to do with the body, the senses, and some material object outside. Clear? So, really, the material dimension of our living that we had kind of begun our little workshop with has to do with the, that's where we experience it from. The other kind of experience that we have are called values-based tasting. Really, all the relationships that we have, we've also touched this before. So, feelings like respect, affection, care that we like. And this is what a mother experiences every time she, lets go of her sleep or her hunger or the immediate things that she wants to do and cares for the child. This is what a mother experiences. Not the tasty food, but the taste of having taken care of the child. ये समझ में आता है? ये जो satisfaction है, ये मैंने बच्चे के लिए किया. प्रॉब्लम क्या है? बच्चे को याद नहीं रहता है after it grows up. We'll come to that later. We expect that the bacha, remember it and listen to me. Oh, bolta, I was an accident. Why did you give me birth to me? Then you feel very bad. Like, I did so much, and this happens generation after generation after generation. Then we say children are ungrateful. Why are they ungrateful? Because they don't remember. They were too small, and when you're too young, these memories come and then they just disappear. So one aspect of education is to be able to teach children what is gratitude. And how do you do that? By demonstrating to them, by making them see, they have to see here, by making them see that, it took so much to bring you up. So when you're educating, you can't just give information outside because then information will get stored. This is ratta. This is why people are fed up of the current education system because it's not allowing us to see anything. And that's what is called schooling. What is deschooling? Deschooling का मतलब है stop this information from coming here. But you have to put something there because this has a need to be fulfilled. Okay. So what happens in homeschooling? In homeschooling, we will basically continue to do the home production and live with people here. But that's still not knowledge. Knowledge has to be provided for that child. So it has to have some purpose-based testing. It has to come to know about itself. So really in what we're doing, we're looking at a whole new education system which is still uncovering. It's not that we have all the answers today or all the information and content today. So these are the three kinds of, and the third is purpose-based testing. आज के दिन क्या होता है? What we think as purpose is what we are paying attention to. So if you've made up your mind that you want to be a collector, then you'll be going and sitting in a class that is talking about how to clear the IAS exam. If you say, no, I want to become an enlightened person, then you'll be sitting in Ramakrishna Mission listening to those lectures. If you say, I want to become an enlightened person by understanding Theravada and Buddhism, you'll be sitting somewhere and listening to somebody else. Okay? So, if we were to assess our, time here, when we are sitting inside this classroom, what kind of experience are we having? 1, 2 or 3? कौन सा टेस्टिंग हो रहा है? 3 हो रहा है. Sometimes what happens is the information is too. The same person called. Hello. Yeah. Good afternoon. Yeah. मैं नेक्स्ट लेक्चर में हूँ. मैं आपको कॉल करता हूँ. Axis Bank. They're trying to sell something. His desire is to keep his job, get the bonus, pay for the house EMI. उसके लिए मैं ही मिला उसको मुर्गा है ना to sell to. After all the people in the world. So what happens is when this information becomes too much, when you say I switch off, what is happening? This information is not getting translated into an image. You're not able to image it anymore. Because पहले का image assimilate नहीं हुआ. Before that was able to expand, a new image came. अभी self body ही अलग नहीं हुआ, अभी self भी खुल गया. अब self के अंदर मन ही चल रहा था, वृत्ति भी खुल गया. वृत्ति खोल रहा था और एक शब्द है और So that will happen with any subject, any field. Even if I'm studying medicine, and let's say there's too much of information coming in, then we feel overwhelmed. Okay? And so we feel overwhelmed. That impact is also on the body and the brain, which is when you need to take a break. Get some caffeine, get some tea, get some kada. Sometimes just sunshine can be very refreshing from a very long lecture. आप कुछ पियोगे मत, जाके धूप में खड़े हो जाओ, थोड़ा सा शांति मिलता है. Drink some water, wash your face. Any kind of impulse in the body. So this is really the 3 kinds of tasting. Just a brief introduction into that. ग्रीन अभी शुरू नहीं किया हमने. नीचे रेड जो लिखा है वो मन का लिखा है. We make choices based on these states. Okay. So the choosing that we do, जो 5A लिखा है ना. So based on 5A, we do 5B. So for instance, 5A is one level, 4A is another level. Every number is one level. They are in the same level. They happen together. So every 5B, every choice that you make is based on some expectation of some taste in 5A. Like when we are standing in line and eating, and let us say there is some dish, okay? कोई आ रहा है, some Swamiji is coming. Is they coming here? इधर आ रहे क्या? नहीं ना? हाँ, और कहीं जा रहे हैं. ठीक. हाँ? Visitors are there. The orange robe means that they have burnt all their desires in the fire, in the flame. That's why गेरवा कपड़ा चलता है इंडिया में. You see, when we look at this, you realize how difficult it is to get rid of desire. कपड़ा बदलने से तो desire नहीं जाएगा ना, very difficult. This is, हाँ? हाँ हाँ नहीं, आई एम जस्ट सेइंग दैट इट्स अ रिमाइंडर. Everything is orange. No confusion. Easier to choose. Which orange should I take? The faded orange or the fresh orange? उसमें भी थोड़ा सा choice रहेगा. The new orange or the old orange? I thought of doing that once. I thought of getting only one color का. But then by the time I could execute it, I got married. Then I dropped the plan. I said तो ये थोड़ा ज्यादा हो जाएगा. नौटंकी है ना ये सब फालतू में. As it is, there is enough trouble. ऊपर से you will create one more trouble कि मेरा पति हमेशा ब्लू ही पहनता है जी, है ना. वन मोर क्वेश्चन टू आंसर. जबरदस्ती का है ना ये सब. नौटंकी है. ग्रे एंड ग्रीन. आई नो आई जस्ट इतना भी नहीं ऐसी. फाइनली चॉइस आपको करना ही पड़ेगा इन दैट अवेलेबल. ये जो चूजिंग है ना, ये जो है कि मेरे को कोई नहीं फर्क पड़ता, ये नौटंकी है. मैं एक ही पहनूंगा, वो भी एक नौटंकी. मीन्स वन ड्रामा. देन आई एम स्पेशल. हाउ इज ही स्पेशल? ही वेयर्स ओनली क्रीम थ्रू हिज एंटायर लाइफ. ड्रामा है. Just be, I mean, it's easier to just be like everybody else is. And then you just blend in and then talk of what is important and do something useful. It's a very subtle way of drawing attention to yourself. Right? Huh? वो पर्पस यही है कि बिकॉज यू सी इन कर्नाटका एवरीबडी इज ओनली वेयरिंग व्हाइट इन द विलेज. वो जस्ट व्हाट यू गॉट यूज्ड टू. हमारे गांव में ओनली व्हाइट. In fact, in Tamil Nadu, everything is hot, so they don't wear anything on top, only niche. Either तो फिर भी little cold. There you will find the guy only with a dhoti. In fact, in our village, they would wear a langot and he would wear this lungi and nothing on top. If it is hot, he'll pull up the lungi on top of his head and start walking. Then you will see his buttocks. And when it becomes cold, he'll drop it down again. Now, if somebody does that, you will say he's trying to draw attention, he's showing his buttocks. But that's the way people were. The men were like that. If it is hot, even if it is raining, because it hardly rained, so nobody had an umbrella, right? So if it is raining, I've seen people pull up the vesti and walk like this, as though that dhoti is going to prevent him from the rain. And they'll have one towel here. So if he wants to lie down, he'll put it lie down. If he wants to make it into a pillow, he'll roll it up, put it at the back. Yeah, yeah. If he got something, he'll tie it, take it back home. But this is nicer. I think this is one of the good things the British did, like shirt and pant. I think little more easy to keep things. And वो धोती वोती क्या है, things it's for that time when you didn't have phones and money. And it keeps opening up. You have to figure out how to मतलब time pass for all the old people in my house. नाना जितने भी थे वो धोती खुलेगा, उसको एक बार खोलेंगे फिर से ऐसा बांधेंगे. आधा घंटा हो जाएगा, फिर से खुलेगा, फिर से खोलेंगे, फिर से करेंगे, पूरा ऐसा पूरा दिन यही काम था. इधर भी होता है. टाइम पास है, मतलब इट्स लाइक अ थिंग टू डू. यू नो यू डोंट हैव टू लुक एट. पूरा दिन. So this is more relaxing. You feel you're safe. Nobody can see anything. उसमें क्या है वो दिखता है ना खोल के, फिर सब बोलेंगे बंद करो, close the धोती. Ways of exposing yourself, closing yourself. My grandfather का favorite pastime था. Then I saw somebody, there was an easier way to wear it. You roll it up, you tuck your stomach inside, and then you roll it down 4 times. Then it doesn't open. I told him, he said, no, 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 that is not the way to tie the dhoti. I said, it is some antim satya or something. I said, do it, man, you will save 15 minutes a day, right? You can do something useful with that 15 minutes. It's actually a way to keep yourself distracted. In the dhoti, you don't have to worry about desire, thought, क्या चल रहा है. Just be in the dhoti for some time. ना समय कटता है. नहीं, this is all more difficult. Okay, so ठीक है. देखो ये सब बहुत बड़ा समय बचता है. ठीक है. चूजिंग में यदि somebody is having a problem choosing, and ये सब छोटी छोटी चीजें हैं ये सब. Actually, today what we think of as greatness and all that is actually मन से जो होता है ना उसको हम मान लेते हैं. कम खाता है, खाता नहीं है, दिन में एक भी बार खाता है ना, has only honey, wears only white, doesn't comb his hair. ये सब शरीर है. This is all, just preferences. Basically, my choices are simplified. Okay, my demand is simplified, but it's still only what is visible. You don't know what is inside him. Whereas and he or she will never expose that. That's all. I mean, these are all what I'm saying is either this way or that way doesn't mean much. It's really okay. Man is the closest to the body, and man is from where you experience the body and the outer world. And when you're actually seeing somebody and their choices, you're actually reading their man. When you say कि ये खाता है नहीं खाता है, you are basically only getting to know the quality of his man. He eats only once a day. He only has boiled, मतलब hot water for breakfast. जितना भी है, it's only the रुचि मूलक आस्वादन, interest based tasting. You don't know how he is as a person. उसका मूल्य मूलक नहीं समझ में आता. Then there you will say he's a simple person, है ना? Not from the clothes, but स्वभाव से simple है क्या? कपड़ा तो simple है, but he may be very complicated fellow. ऐसा दिखता है, you understand? He may be very simple clothes wise, but inside is very complicated, very difficult to run away if you try to live with a guy. Like बाप रे, I'm better off wearing Louis Philippe and Alan Solly. भैया ये तो बहुत मुश्किल है. I still have them at home. I have clothes for my job. I have one shirt which is from 2005. फट ही नहीं रहा, क्या करूं? फटता ही नहीं वो कपड़ा. I used to wear Louis Philippe to meetings and Alan Solly and used to joke. It used to be called Van Hussein. Van Heusen एक है brand. तो फाइनली पता चला सब बेंगलोर में बनता है. नाम है अंग्रेजी. हाँ, मधुरा फैब्रिक नहीं, आनंद, अरविंद फैब्रिक, अरविंद शूटिंग, सब उसका ब्रांड है. इंडियन ही है, तीनों इंडियन है. पीटर इंग्लैंड. See, only name, वही ना. We think Christian names are fashionable. You can't have a shirt brand called Swaminathan Jayaraman. Nobody will buy it. Made by the same company, same quality. Huh? SJ. Swaminathan Jayaraman. Okay, so the interest-based tasting, again, you'll see that we have a lot of, the spectrum is very wide. Just a brief. So, this is what happens. So in the activity of expectation, we are constantly trying to see to not have conflict there. So if you have the taste expectation for something, then it's nice when it is fulfilled. When it is not fulfilled, then we don't like it. Even if it is simple eating, it is a choice to eat simply. And if you don't get simple eating and you get a complex food, now you have a problem. And I use that to show that I'm better than the other person. कि मैं तेल नहीं खाता, but I get bothered if there is tail. Finally, उतना ही हुआ ना. I have conflicted myself by becoming simple. And the other guy is conflicted himself by being complex. Conflict गया नहीं. Okay, so we make choices in different ways, right? In what we wear, what to see, where to go. All these are choices that we make, and it is with expectation with some experience. All right. So we say we'll go for a walk, we'll go up the hill, and that's all nice. That's one part of living. Nowhere is it being said, "Ye galat hai, aap mat karo." This is one aspect of the living. It is ruchi mulak or sense-based tasting, right? When you look at, so we already covered this, right? So this is already written there. You can just read it. So there are three ways in which we humans seek or want to experience happiness in the external world, and these are the three ways in which we do it. We are usually conversant to the first one, which is preference-based tasting. We are not very much aware of the mulya mulak or, the purpose-based tasting. In fact, the purpose-based tasting or expectation that we have comes as an enquiry in us, as an emptiness saying, what is it? That's when we pick up a book and try to read more about life and what it is and so on and so forth. Alright. So values based, feelings के context के. So feelings are with relations, इसीलिए relation लिखते हैं. वही ठीक है उसी में ना, because that is where we expect all the values. You don't expect the values from the bus conductor. The basic expectation from the bus conductor is completes the transaction and doesn't do any hanky-panky. That's it. I mean, doesn't shout at you, and his expectation is you also obey the rule, he also obeys the rule. You don't expect love and affection. तो आके मेरे को हक करेगा कि सर कहाँ थे? From home. We don't expect that. We just expect in some strangers, we expect that they remain within the boundaries of, civility. That they don't behave in an uncivil fashion, whatever it is they're used to. But the values are when, so we are either seeking to get or we are trying to express. Both is happening from the man, from expectation and these things. Okay. So this is again a very quick insight into what happens, the limitation of ruchi-based tasting. So although it is nice, it has a boundary, it has a limitation. And what really is the limitation? When we start eating, it feels necessary and tasteful. Alright. After some time, the same food starts feeling as unnecessary, but it is still tasteful. Maja aa raha hai. Okay. But I feel I'm full, but I just want more bite because it's really nice. And then after some time, it starts becoming unnecessary and tasteless. And if I still continue to persist, then it becomes intolerable. I cannot bear to eat this food anymore. So there is an upper limit to what I can get from the senses. There is a lower limit and there is an upper limit. So till I'm within those bounds, the body stays healthy. I mean, there is a higher chance that the body stays healthy. If I break the boundary either on this side or this side, then I have a problem. I'm either starving the body, so I'm saying I will ignore the senses, virakti, I will become skinny and become like, a sage, or I will become overweight on this side. Because my need for happiness is continuous, and I'm also trying to get peace, I'm trying to get contentment, I'm trying to get affection, and I'm trying to get all that through the vada pav, then it gets a problem. If I know that I'm going to get taste from the vada pav and nutrition from the vada pav, and for everything else I have to do something else, then my attention goes to the other areas. Clear? जिस चीज से जो मिलेगा उधर we'll pay attention. That's what we'll do it for. We kind of, explored that a little bit when we took up the desires for evaluation. You remember yesterday? What will you get from each desire? All right. So this is in the ruchi-based tasting, but that doesn't happen in the values-based tasting. We don't say that's too much of affection or stop giving affection, overdose ho gaya, it is intolerant. No. We would like affection to be there, and we seek affection. And when we have affection, we give affection. So we like it both when we are seeking and giving. If we get as well as giving. And we would like to be in a position where we have it and we are able to give it. Why? Because when I want affection, and if you don't have affection, then I am deprived. आप में नहीं है स्नेह, you don't have affection, and I continue to expect affection from you, then it doesn't work. So we again, I've already kind of covered this. Yeah. So we don't live in isolation. This is why we're not social animals. Even at the experiential level, we want feelings from people, and you can't get through the day without doing it. Very rare that a human being will get through the day by themselves without meeting another human being. Possible है आज के दिन? You spend the entire day without meeting another human being. India में तो chance ही नहीं है. There are people everywhere. Wherever you go, you'll find a guy. कहाँ से आए? क्या चाहिए? Ask the question. There's too many of us. इनके इधर possible है. Canada, some parts of the US, maybe Australia. You can go for days without meeting someone. Here it's not possible. And purpose-based tasting again, ideally is to do with our long-term or larger purpose and goal. Prior to that, it functions to fulfill the shorter goals that we have assumed. That's why you would go for a IIT coaching class and sit there and maybe something else, because then you feel that इससे मेरा purpose पूरा होगा. Okay, so it's really a modified purpose, not the actual purpose that one should be having. So it is a purpose to be able to fulfill sensory goal at some time in future. ऐसा समझ में आता है? Going to IIT to get 50 lakh or 1 crore salary means I am taking this purpose so in the future I can continue to get the Mercedes. Not because I want to be a good person or have affection or really study the subject. Which is why even in the good courses in the good colleges, if you try and find out how many students are really interested in the subject, the answer is very less. They're usually there for some other objective. इसीलिए जैसे पैसा मिलता है they stop studying. This is very common nowadays. What is happening is in the engineering colleges you get placed. Like I got a job when I was in the second semester of the third year. I still have an entire year to go and मेरे को job लग गया. Now why would I finish the fourth year? There's no reason to go through it. I had to push myself to pass because if I fail, I lose the job. All right. So this is really this. और 15 मिनट 16 मिनट है वेरी सॉरी I'll pause. So we've gone. So what we did was we took imagination. Imagination को खोला तो पता चला there is desire, thinking and expectation. Then we looked at expectation तो पता चला उसके base में there is tasting. Then we take up tasting उसको पता चलता है in the base of tasting there are three kinds of tasting or through motives for the tasting. Now we will take up thinking and see that there are six backgrounds to the thinking also. The three drishtis in the vritti. So vritti is the place from where we do thinking. So I'll write it there. Vritti means घूमना, वृत्ताकार, गोल गोल घूमना. So vritti can also be called. So this I said man is the experience. So vritti means disposition. Okay, so it is called tulan. हमको बोल के सुन के इतना टाइम लग रहा है. Imagine the fellow who found it out. Somebody discovered it, no? It's not coming from thin air. We already did that above. Remember while answering some other question. Likes, health, and profit. Okay. So this is called Priya Hit Love. Then you have justice. I am going to use the word religion, but I'll explain what it means. It is not what we call as religion today. And truth. Religion means order. Okay, innate order under bracket. So this is called Nyay. I am using the Hindi terms because English थोड़ा सा weak हो जाता है for these things. The word religion derives from the Latin root religare. Religare means to be bound to. जिसके साथ बंधा गया है उसका नाम religion है. There's a company, finance company in India called Religare Securities. Religare Health भी है. Okay, so every thought that we have has one of these six three dishtis through the day. So what is really thinking? Every thought that we have, what do? You take some idea and you keep rotating it. You know? This is called thinking. So we'll apply it to various scenarios. For instance, you go to a shop. We go to a shop, we want to buy a suitcase. So we ask kitne ka hai? How much is it for? Why? Because we feel this, I like this suitcase. This suitcase I would like to have. Why? It is going to fulfill some need. It has got 4 wheels. I want to go to Hubli. I need to keep something inside the suitcase. And then he says, this is 5,400. You say, oh, no, I don't want something for 5,400. Can you show me one below 2,000 rupees? Kya hua? I like the suitcase, but I cannot afford it. Alright? So he says, you know what? Hamare paas, we have a suitcase for 1,000 rupees, but it doesn't have wheels. You'll have to pick it up and walk. You say, no, I don't want such a cheap suitcase because I don't want to pick it up. My hands will ache and I just had a hand surgery. My hand is broken. I pulled a muscle. I want a suitcase with wheels that I like, but under 2,000 rupees. ये 3 कंडीशन आ गया अभी दुकानदार के पास. So he has to look for a suitcase that you like, that has wheels, that is under 2,000 rupees. क्या हो रहा है? The suitcase that I like, what am I doing? I am using the Priya Drishti. I like that suitcase. I like the way it looks. Why? Because I saw somebody else using it that day. I was walking and I saw Shriram dragging a suitcase. उसका Shriram भूल गया, वो suitcase याद रह गया, है ना? I remember his suitcase. So now when I want a suitcase, that image of that particular suitcase comes up. So I asked the dukandar, show me that suitcase. When he shows the suitcase, he says it is 5,000 rupees. My bank balance is 20,000 rupees. I cannot give 5,000 for a suitcase. Or in my mind, my acceptance for a suitcase is only for 2,000. You know, psychologically what we do, we assign prices to different goods that we want to have, irrespective of whether we can afford it or not. ये हमारा रेंज है. जैसे चश्मा मेरे को लेना था, 2,000 was the budget. It's not that I cannot buy one for 30,000. I don't want to spend 30,000 rupees on a chashma. ऐसा होता है कि नहीं? Or I want to buy a laptop. My brother kept telling me to MacBook ले ले. I said, what will I do with a MacBook? I use PowerPoint and Microsoft Word. He said, no, the software is very smooth. I said, it's okay if it hangs once in a while. I'll buy a laptop for 20,000 only. Why? Because we've given that kind of price. Sometimes we cannot afford it. This is why we don't buy it. Many a times, that is the price we've assigned. I am a crorepati. I go to buy bindi and they say 120 kilo. What a 120 kilo? I don't want bindi. Why? Because for me, bindi means 60 bucks. Not that I can't afford it. I have 5 crores. Every month I'm getting 2 lakhs as dividend. But bindi cannot be 120. That's a price I have assigned to it. So what happens? I go to the shop and I say, I like that suitcase. And he says, 5,000 rupees. And either I don't have the money because I have a memory or a acceptance of what is my class. Am I lower middle class? Am I poor? Am I middle class? Am I upper? Am I rich? Am I ultra rich? पहले 3 ही था, लो क्लास, मिडिल क्लास, रिच क्लास. अभी बहुत हो गया है, रिच, अल्ट्रा रिच, मिडिल, अपर मिडिल, लो मिडिल, है ना? हमारे चाचा रहते थे मद्रास में, उनका कॉलोनी का नाम था LLIG, लो इनकम ग्रुप. बोला यार बेइज्जती, लो इनकम भी नहीं बोला हमारे घर को, लो इनकम ग्रुप. So government of Chennai had built it. So there was low income group, LLIG, मतलब एक hall, एक kitchen, toilet. And that hall was so small, if you like fell down, you'll fall into the kitchen, right? And 4 of us would sleep there. Or 6 of us. Me and my cousin के लिए जगह ही नहीं होता, so we would go sleep on the terrace. If you get visitors, and Chennai is so hot, so there is no problem accommodating people. Just go up to the terrace. It is not going to rain. It will not be cold. You don't need nothing. You just sleep. So low income group. Other is LIG, low income group housing. Then MIG, middle income group. Then HIG, high income group. उसके बाद है जयललिता का घर, है ना? पूरा बहुत बड़ा है वो तो, है ना? So we ask him 5,000 rupees. What are you doing? You're evaluating. You've not yet made a choice. आपने अभी suitcase pick up नहीं किया है. You are looking either at your bank balance, or how much money you carried, or how much money you think you should be paying for a suitcase, irrespective of how rich you are. तीनों कंडीशन हो सकता है ना? And then you say, show me one for 2,000 rupees. You made a choice, you tell him. He shows you one for 2,000 rupees, but now he says, I can show you one for 1,000 rupees, but you will have to carry it. Now your hip drishti kicks in. You say, no, no, my hand is paining. If I pick it up, I will get a handache. So now I want a suitcase that I like, that is healthy for me, that I can afford. इतना एनालिसिस होता है बैक एंड फोर्थ. That's why choosing makes a difference. That's why I said, यार, I'm not able to make up my mind. Should I pay the extra 3,000 rupees and buy it or should I not? ये तुलन हो रहा है, ये डिसीजन नहीं दे पा रहा है. ये जैसे यहाँ से डिसीजन आता है, we make a choice, we buy the suitcase, we go back home and we feel happy. Why? Because all my conditions were met. So an ultra rich guy, hence when somebody, why do we feel that it is nicer to be rich? Because they don't have to do this labh tulan so often. Money is so easy, उनको सोचना ही नहीं है. That does not mean that a rich person कंजूस भी हो सकता है. As somebody who doesn't spend money. But in the modern era, modern richness, when you are getting, like my classmate gets, like I told you, his salary is 1 point whatever 2 crore a month, and so he must be getting I don't know, maybe 6 lakh a month as salary, 5 lakh, 6 lakh. करेगा क्या? So we went out for dinner. He, me, and another classmate of mine. He took us to some place and whatever. Both of them ate meat. I don't eat. And he said, ये भी खाते हैं, वो भी खाते हैं, ये भी खाते हैं, ये भी खाते हैं. It was a fairly expensive place. And I said, we're just 3 of us. There's no way. So I said, you guys order your food, I'll order my food. He said, no, you order whatever you want. We will taste that also. I said, but you won't be able to finish it. He said, that's okay. We'll just taste it. This is a very, very modern American way of looking at life. That you will have maximum choices for the sensory thing and you should be able to afford it. Then you're a successful person. ये इसका image है इधर. ठीक है? So he ended up buying so much of food. इसका थोड़ा खाया, इसका खाया, इसका खाया, इसका खाया, left the rest. सब फेंक दिया बाद में. ठीक है, it was his money and anyway food was getting thrown. So, okay, so this disposition is what decides our mentality. ये जो psyche में mentality है, this is decided by how this is working. ये कैसा काम करता है. As another way to buy the suitcase, you go to the guy and you say, I want all this, but you know what? तुम्हारा घर कितने में चलने वाला है? I want to make sure that I give you the right price for the suitcase. Now you are looking at fair trade. This is a new concept. Okay? And then sometimes you may say that I want a suitcase made of bamboo because I don't want the environment to get polluted. Now you're looking at some order, some drishti, which is not just to do with what you like, what is healthy and what is profitable, but what is correct to do. Suitcase transaction में truth नहीं आएगा. But maximum इधर तक जा सकता है. Okay. So 6 ways in which the same suitcase can be bought. 6 motives. 6 happiness. So the experience of using the suitcase is going to be sensory, but the mental satisfaction is going to vary based on the underlying, perspective or drishti that you have. Okay, so that's how Tulan works. And what's the time? Lunch, 1 o'clock? Lunch ready hai? Just check. है? Compare ही है, but comparing is a step after तुलन. तुलन की दृष्टि है, उसके बेसिस पे आप कंपेयर कर रहे हैं. कंपैरिजन का बेस बनता है उसमें. है? रिक्तता. हाँ, नहीं, विल कम, रिक्तता ही है, बिकॉज बाकी जो 3 जो लिखा है ना इन रेड, जस्टिस, रिलीजन एंड ट्रूथ, वो रिक्ति है ना, खाली है अभी तो डब्बा. किसी को सत्य पता नहीं. लोग सत्य के बारे में लिख रहे हैं, उसका दृष्टि है कि नहीं पता नहीं. हाँ, नहीं, वो भौतिक वस्तु है. So in material objects, न्याय धर्म सत्य दृष्टि will not uh, factor in. Uh, some amount of न्याय would factor in how you talk to that person, a little bit. And like I said, if you want to try and make it environment friendly, then a little bit of the dharma, just kind of touching it, huh? 10 minutes. न्यायिक, yeah, fair exchange. नहीं, ये तो हाँ पॉसिबल तो नहीं है हमारे अंदर. इट्स नॉट पॉसिबल टू. नहीं, इसीलिए आप मॉल मत जाइए, किराना स्टोर जाइए, तो फिर वहां जाके इसको सोचिए. इजी है, मॉल में बहुत कम समझ में आएगा. मॉल नहीं समझने के लिए बना है. कुछ भी नहीं समझ में आएगा. मॉल केवल भोगने के लिए बना है मॉल. ठीक है, वापस आ जाएंगे.
I have a question, Anna.
Yeah.
So
I've also written something on the board. You can, yeah.
maybe it's partially related, but it just came up. So so until last year, until I was working, um, so whenever when we order food or whenever Matre asks something to buy, I don't say no, but still I take time and buy and give him what he asks for, because I had that image of, okay, I have a balance in my account, so I could afford. Right now, post quitting job, right? So whenever he asks me something, whether I could afford or not, but the instant answer that comes is no. So there is always a rejection from the child. Like now, whenever I ask something to Amma, she says no, right? um but I don't directly say no. I say we can buy later or whenever there is a necessity. But like, how do I uh, I wouldn't say conflict, but like, how do I take this with a chill child? Yeah.
Yeah. So for this specific instance, two things that you'll have to take into consideration. One is, of course, you'll have to do this. There's no shortcut to that. I mean, because this is a one answer for one particular instance, it will not apply for some other kind of scenario. When we want answers for all scenarios, we'll have to wade in ourselves. Like these children waded into the lake and came back. Okay. But just for this particular instance, you will have to reflect on two things, or clarify for yourself two aspects. One is, are you feeling that you have less money because you quit your job? One is, if you quit your job, one thing that has happened is the regular inflow of money has stopped. So that is something you will have to fix, because that is part of your material living, and that you need money for your material existence. So that is something you'll have to sort out. That is, how are your expenses going to continue even though you quit your job? If it is just a temporary respite or break you've taken, then it's not going to last long. So one possibility is, because of this, there is this feeling in you that I suddenly need to now be careful. All right, it's a psychological thing, and also an actual thing. As in, you really don't have money, you've not sorted it out, and psychologically, as a heck, you feel that you have less. The second option is, although the inflow has stopped, there is still enough to go by, and you know that there is enough to go by, or you've made some plan, like you know that 2 years from now you start teaching every month and maybe gain 20,000 rupees, and you have your savings for a rainy day or for the bulk expenses, and you still feel that way, that you have less. Then also it is a lack of the clarity of the image, that you have enough. all right? And we not discuss prosperity so much, but really to be able to assess this and see that there is more than the material things that I need, all right? Not just for daily survival, but also for the other requirements and expenses, etc. So these two put together could be a psychological kind of knot in you, where you feel that abhava, that I have less, either because there is really less, or because you've not figured out how there will not be less, okay, or despite having more, but you still feel you have less because you quit the job. There are a lot of people like that who get very worked up if they don't have money coming into their account every month. If they don't have a source of income, तो उनको बहुत बेचैनी होती है, even though they may have enough. Okay, so that's one possibility. The other possibility, of course, is just good parenting, irrespective of your psychological aspect. That as a child, it's okay. I mean, if you're traveling and once in a while, it's okay to cater to the child's needs. But do we want to bring up the child with the habit of, instant sensory gratification on demand? And is that really going to help them? And the answer really is no, because that's going to make them materialistic in nature, and they're just going to be heavy demanders as they grow up. So as a parent, I would not want that, because I would want them to get a balanced perspective of life. And you see that as the other blocks fill in. Uh, Basically, education needs to be able to uh, help the child develop in all these areas and not just one, which is the ability to, like I told you, this classmate of mine, he has a cook at home, and his daughter is able to, order in food from Swiggy and Zomato. She doesn't like what is being made, and he thinks that's great that he's become successful. But if you really see what is happening, I mean, she is going to get into a frame of mind where she thinks she can just buy anything that she wants. There's no responsibility, there's no sense of, and that is not going to help her, because there will be things that she cannot buy. There will be things that she will not buy, even if she's willing to pay for it.
uh, the child also shouldn't think that we don't have sufficient money, so his focus probably later in life shouldn't turn
You should not,
towards
so they should not grow up with the feeling that we have less, but it's okay to tell them that we are ordinary people and there are some things that we can afford and some things we cannot. I told this to Devika, although she didn't ask me, about 2 years ago. And, so in Tamil, I said, so there are, I said, so there are poor people, there are ordinary people, and there are rich people. And I said, we are ordinary people. Because she goes to school. Because see, ये जो हम पढ़ा रहे हैं, uh, this teaching is eternal. It doesn't depend on what the world is. It doesn't matter कि India है, Pakistan, कुछ नहीं है इसमें. This teaching is eternal. The understanding is universal. It is perennial. You remember we had a slide. This is that. But also have to learn how to deal with the current circumstance. What is called as the Vastu Sthiti Satya. This is called Vastugat Satya. This is absolute truth. But there is a Vastu Sthiti out there that you have to deal with. There is inflation. There is rising oil prices. There is global instability. And if our children have to live in this world, they have to know that these things exist. We can't bring them up in some fairy tale world, fairyland, and then they go out into the world and they don't know, like I have a friend who, after listening to whatever, one or two of these workshops, they are so gentle with their children that they've never raised their voice, that the child has always been only spoken softly to. Okay? And we were sitting somewhere and she said something, and एक तो हमारे घर में बातचीत थोड़ा रफी करते हैं, हमारे जो भी है ना कल्चर के कारण. So I said, no, you should be not doing that. And that girl started crying. She just burst out crying. And I said, Baba, इसको तो मुश्किल होगा, because I'm one of the nicer people out there. There are people who are going to be nastier than me. And if she can't take somebody raising her voice. So I told Devika, because she came back home one day and she said, can we have a sunroof car? Okay. A car with a sunroof. Because one of her classmates has a car with a sunroof.
Same thing. I also had the question.
Car with a sunroof. So she goes, and I didn't have a car till a year ago. When we went back to Pune, I bought a second-hand car, which is 12 years old. I want to use it for another 10 years till the government confiscates it. So I thought, let me extend the life of the car. मेरा वैसे भी running कम है. Okay. And I actually got two birds with, my brother wanted to buy an SUV for 25 lakhs. So we went to the showroom. We saw. मेरा मन में था कि गाड़ी ले, है ना? जरूरत नहीं है. He already has a Baleno, another car. So I helped him choose the car. When coming home, मैंने उसके सर में एक confusion डाला. I said, गाड़ी सब है, you have 25 lakhs, एक ही problem है. He said, what? I said, तू चलाता नहीं है, you don't use the car so much. It's going to be standing there because you sleep on weekends. You're not a guy who will drive, and finally that chowkidar will be washing it, one extra car for the chowkidar to wash. So he got confused. Then वो pause button दब गया. I said, why don't we do this? I'll buy a second-hand car that can also be used on the highway. That will also serve my purpose. And it is also automatic. So I went and bought an old used Honda City, like a 12-year-old used car. This car doesn't have a sunroof. So I told Devika that, look, this is a car and that is the sun. If you want the sun, you put your head out the window. You don't want the sun, you put your head inside. Why do you want to get the sun from inside the car? The whole purpose of buying the car was to keep the sun out. And she looked at me and she got confused. It was too much for a small child. But she had something to tell the other guy that we buy a car to stay away from the sun. Why do you want to go inside a car and still have the sun? If you want the sun, get out. There was anyway sun outside. And then I told her slowly that, beta, we are Sada people. Okay? And sometimes we fly, but most of the time we go by train. And now she's begun to believe that we are Sada people, whatever it means. Okay? So all this happened. One day when I was giving her a bath, I told her, beta, at one time I was rich. She said, what? I said, Appa was very rich. She said, how? I said, I used to work. I was a big officer. I used to get a lot of money. And if I had continued to work, we could have had 3 sunroof cars. Oh yeah, school guy. She came back home. My wife had gone for a walk. He said, Amma, do you know, Appa was a rich person at one point in time. So for a child, you see, हमको लगता है उसको कुछ दिख नहीं रहा, उसके अंदर चल रहा है, right? Are we like everybody else? Are we? She's trying to find her place in the world. तुलन चल रहा है. हम लोग नीचे हैं, हम ऊपर हैं. तो उसको इस बात से कॉन्फिडेंस मिला that her father willingly gave up something. So having a child is so intense. I mean, they are so sensitive. I didn't realize that what I was saying was having such a big impact on her. Okay. Luckily, it all turned out to be fine. But I felt that I have somewhere protected her from trying to desire for too much or trying to feel too low. So being middle class is like the safest thing in everything. In your education, in your living, in your bank balance, just stay just the way we are. And there are people there and that's okay. That's who they are. I didn't give her a value judgment saying people are bad. I said, beta, that's just the way the world is. Okay, right now. Because it's too early for her for all this. I mean, as she grows up, she's saying, I'm hoping one day she'll come and ask me, what is it that you study and teach? If she asks me, I'll tell her. उसके पहले मैं बोलूँगा, she'll sleep off. But, yeah. My wife was not very certain. She said, I wonder whether we should be telling her this. I said, feel anyways, no. So there is this boy in her van that keeps telling her, ये car है, वो car है, ये Harrier है, वो है. Now she started asking me road पे ये car है, वो car है, car. Then I told her, beta, Honda City is heavier than the sunroof car. She said, acha. I said, yeah. So next time that boy tells you, मेरा car has more weight than your car. So she has one additional data point. So बोले, ये 1200 किलो का है, तेरा 800 किलो का है. Just for kicks. एक बड़ा होने का, वो छोटे बच्चे को तो सुख थोड़ा उसका मिलेगा ना, उससे उसका कॉन्फिडेंस बढ़ेगा. So becoming confident is such a different thing, and we'll see when we go tomorrow and day after also that we're all made in the same way, but we have different ranges within our faculty, and also our confidence levels varies based on who we've been, what we've achieved, what we brought to the table, really, what is called as Puru Sanskar. There are some people who kick away everything at age 8. There are some people who only do it at age 28. They have to go through and see what the world has to offer and feel confident कि मैंने कर लिया and then leave. So, yeah. Sunroof car. So, I said, lot of sun. Sunny, sunny, bahar boom.
Yeah, I agree because um, I've been raising him as a single mother, so um, I don't know. I have a confidence in it, so we never had that. At least till now, there is no question of father, or if something has been asked to him, he manages. He never comes and asks me. So probably that's the area where we both are confident. But now after quitting the job, I think probably that's where somewhere I
Yeah,
have
yeah,
to.
that also, and he will,
Yeah,
as a single parent, then there will also be all these things where he'll compare, he will see that there are other, fathers who are taking care of their children and doing this and that, and that's something you'll have to,
no,
because as a
that's
child,
the message which I've said. I've informed them like it's just only three of us. Is our family. It's me, you, and my his party. So that's the clear message I've given him, and I think he also perceived it.
yeah, for now, I
Yeah,
see,
for now,
we'll have
yes.
to do what is needed to protect him.
Yeah,
As he grows
yeah,
older, he's
yeah,
going to ask questions, and then
yeah,
you have
yeah,
to have an
yeah.
answer. You know. We have a child in our house who lost her mother when she was very young to an illness, and then she had to. So she now has a mother, not a biological mother. Okay, but she knows that there was something else, and one of the fears that this close relative of mine had really was, if she goes to school and she says other mothers picking them up and dropping the children, then I don't have an answer. And it's always harder for a male to do it, to raise a child, because they really don't know. They don't have the emotional bandwidth. They don't have the sensitivity. Men are just bulls. I mean, most of them. It's difficult. Um, yeah. Break for lunch हो गया होगा ना 1:15. So we'll be back at 3 o'clock. We'll take a longer break. As we go deeper, we'll extend the lunch break for 15 minutes every day. Okay? थोड़ा खा पी के आराम से सो जाइए and we will come back.